السلام عليكم. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Arabic Khatawaat. In this video, we're going to go over our second part where we'll look at different strategies to review our story. You can see it over here. This is part 2, meaning that we have already covered the verbs, the nouns, and some other vocab in the previous session. You can check all the other 4 different videos or stories below, but this one is part 2 of story number 4. Part 2. ونقول الجزء الثاني. الجزء الثاني. الجزء الثاني. Okay, so in this video, what we're going to go over is the English translation, and then we'll come back to our entire story in another part. So grab a pen and paper, and remember that every time we review short stories, we go over different learning strategies and of course some other grammatical lessons and notes. So it's really important for you to grab your pen and paper, sit, put any distraction far away from you, and we'll begin على بركة الله. يلا. كن واثقا من حلمك. كن واثقا من حلمك. In this practice, we're going to look at the Arabic phrases that we have learned and then compare those phrases to the original English text. And we'll also look at, are we really supposed to translate word by word? Is that even possible? Can I do that when I have the original text in English? How do we translate? So I'm sure some of you have already asked these questions, but we're going to figure out which parts we're going to take from English text and how are we going to align them to what we're learning. مدرب خيول. The first thing I do is I have to find these words. So I'm going to go for مدرب خيول. This is the one I have. So I read my text in English and try to find this word. So Monty Robert born into a family of horse trainers. So I don't have horse trainers. I have here مدرب خيول, which is the singular. Spent his youth traveling from one stable to another, from one farm to the next, all the while honing his horse training and taming skills. This constant moving caused disruptions in his academic journey. In English, I have horse trainers, and in Arabic, we introduced the text as saying like he would like to become a horse trainer. So we're going to say مدرب خيول as horse trainer without the S. So when we're translating, you have to be very careful with the gender as well as the plural form. مدرب is singular for trainer. If I'm going to say trainers, it will be مدربون. مدربون. And here's my opportunity to learn the plural form. Then I say spend his youth. We learned how to say spend as time. So I can just go back to my notes over here and just remember that spend time, meaning قضى as a verb, قضى وقت. And the time can be anything like days, it can be hour, it can be any length of time. And I just remember that spend is قضى. I move on to the rest. Here we go. So here we say hone in his skills. This is my other part. I'll just highlight it here. Hone in his skills. And I have taming skills. What I take from English is that training is يدرب, تدريب, and then taming is ترويض as the noun. In the English text, I don't have the verb. But what I remember is that the present tense form in Arabic is always a reference to the present continuous in English, because we don't have present continuous in Arabic. We only use just a simple present. So if I'm saying يدرب, that would be to train. يدرب. And if I'm thinking about the noun, it would be تدريب. Then I'm thinking about روض, taming, and then we say ترويض. Medical students, if you're learning with us today, ترويض also has to do with like training the body to move again. Is it like kinesthetic? I think you might be more aware of the terminology, but in Arabic we say ترويض. If someone breaks a bone and then they need to kind of tame the bone, train it again, they would use in the medical field ترويض. So far I have, here you go. I have يدرب الخيول. I know الخيول. I know خيول over here. مالك مزرعة. مالك مزرعة. مالك مزرعة. I don't have it in the translation over here, but it means the owner of a farm. We might find it somewhere else, but in this paragraph, I do not have it. But I have مسيرته الدراسية, academic journey. It's over here. مسيرته الدراسية, مسيرته الدراسية, academic journey. Over here, I have it. And his, it's attached to مسيرة, to the journey, not to academic. Disruptions are nouns over here, but منقطع is a description. So I have to say disrupted or interrupted or cut off. منقطعة. So over here, I'm using منقطعة as an adjective. And we say انقطاع, to be cut off, to be in a situation like we say cut something, that's قطع. So I go back to my notes here and I write قطع, 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 to cut, قطع, to cut, and then انقطاع is cut, like cutting, being cut off, not cutting as cut in pieces. That one would be قطع, and it's تقطيع, different. When you're cutting bread, you say قطع. And we have قطع, to cut something in half, but تقطيع, to cut it as physically cut it. Cut off is انقطاع. And if I'm saying انقطعت العلاقة, انقطع, that means it was cut off. And I have to say علاقتنا منقطعة. This is the adjective that's related to the verb انقطع. انقطع, and here is the noun انقطاع. But قطع is تقطيع, and you hear a lot of قا and عين here. We'll go back to our text. Now, moving. I'll just put a different color so I can see which ones I am going over. This constant moving. So instead of this, in Arabic, we have his constant moving. So الدائم didn't change. تنقله الدائم. أو هذا التنقل الدائم. If I'm saying this constant moving, and I have caused, we learned caused in the previous part, which is سبب, سبب, to cause something as a verb. So we say سبب. And I can go back to my notes over here and keep writing them. During his high school days, so we got it. During his high school days, if you know how to say during, you will highlight it and put it right here. his high school days. So his high school days, we don't have it here. Monty was given an assignment. The assignment here, كتابة, to write about his. Okay, so we have the assignment and we have writing. In Arabic, we say كتابة موضوع, writing an assignment. In Arabic, we have introduced just the short form of the whole situation. So we kind of summarized the entire English part. Then I would say about his aspiration for the future without hesitation. Okay, so to write about his aspiration for the future, this is the meaning that we use in Arabic. يعبر فيه عما يرغب أن يكون عندما يكبر. So يرغب, if we're gonna go word by word, يرغب, we said desire. يرغب is desire. And then يكون, we know that it's to be, and here grow. But in English, you'd say to write about his aspirations for the future, just to summarize this part over here. And the assignment is كتابة موضوع, writing a topic. So we can go over topic here. Without hesitation, we learned it as well, but instead of saying without hesitation, we said لم يتردد, he did not hesitate. He did not hesitate. We don't have it in this list, but I'm looking for موضوعا مفصلا. Where is موضوع مفصل? And he meticulously detailed. So to meticulously do something, so كتب بتفصيل. So مفصل is detailed, and if I'm saying بتفصيل, like meticulously. And the verb is فصل, to detail. And if you remember, فصل is class. So you could reflect on it and say, okay, in class, we do kind of detail information. We go and discover information in details. So فصل is class, and it's different from فصل, to detail. موضوعا مفصلا, we got that one. ممتاز. Okay, now we have موقع المزرعة. Where is موقع المزرعة? The farm's location, we got that one. And well-designed stables. What is stables? You can also go over your vocab, but I'm just trying to find these sentences in the English text, including carefully drawn plan. What is plan? مخطط. And then stables are إسطبلات. There we go. Monty received a disheartening fail grade 2 days after submitting his assignment. This outcome left him bewildered, prompting him to approach his teacher to understand why he had failed. So السبب في رسوبه would be why he had failed. So the why is the sabab. The teacher responded bluntly, your dream is unrealistic. So this is number 11. حلمك هذا غير واقعي. This dream of yours is unrealistic. خصوصا, so we learned خصوصا, for someone like you. شخص مثلك, we learned that. You lack. You lack is ينقصك. ينقصك. This is like the actual verb of lacking. نقص. نقص. ينقص. So ينقصني, I lack. ينقصني. You lack ينقصك. ينقصك. So the verb is نقص. نقص. And we say ينقص. If you're shopping for something and say ينقصني, I'm lacking something. I'm on need. I'm in need for something. Now I'm switching from Arabic to English. Okay, so here I go back the financial means and resources, and you come from a family. عائلة, without an unstable itinerant lifestyle. So عائلة متجولة. This is like traveling family. غير مستقرة, unstable. So this would be unstable, this would be traveling, and this would be family. But in English, the way you would construct your sentences would be quite different because you're adding more adjectives, you're adding a whole different structure, but the meaning is there. You're conveying the exact same meaning. Achieving this goal is simply impossible. من المستحيل. So impossible, this is من المستحيل. Achieving, أن تحقق, this is the action of achieving, أن تحقق, and you can use here gerund تحقيق. Instead of أن يحقق, you can say تحقيق. And we learned this structure before, gerund and the verb to plus N. This goal is simply impossible. هذا الهدف. هذا الهدف. And if you're trying to put simply in this situation, you can just say ببساطة, because simple is بسيط, and you say ببساطة, simply, because بساطة is simplicity, and we say ببساطة is simply, it's an adverb. So I can go back here and say I learned فصل, I learned بساطة, تفصيل, تحقيق. I can keep writing. And what else did I learn? انقطاع, سبب. And you keep adding to your notes. Now I'm going to go back to this part and highlight number 13. Go take your notes as well. من المستحيل. So achieving this goal is simply impossible. تحقيق هذا الهدف مستحيل. You can even construct it the exact same way. تحقيق هذا الهدف مستحيل. ببساطة مستحيل. Monty returned home and shared the disappointing news with his father. Oh, we did actually say, here we found لا تملك المال والموارد. Yeah. Okay, here we go. You don't own, you lack the financial means and resources. This is 14. Now I go to 15. هذا القرار مهم للغاية. Where is هذا القرار? So Monty returned home and shared the disappointing news with his father, seeking advice and guidance. His father's response was wise. This decision is of great significance. هذا القرار مهم للغاية. I found my sentence. طالبا منه النصح والإرشاد. طالبا منه النصح والإرشاد. Seeking advice and guidance. Here is my other sentence. And منحه فرصة لإعادة كتابة موضوعه. So now I have to go to this part. منحه. So we're talking about the teacher offered him منحه to rewrite with a more realistic approach or perspective. Here we go. أكثر واقعية. Realistic, perspective, like more realistic. If you're thinking about more, and واقعية, realistic, and think about واقع. طالبا seeking. طالبا. النصح الإرشاد. And here is my English and Arabic. What you can do, this is just one way of reviewing your sentences, going through the English text. And the fun part about this practice is that you can take any English story and just circle or highlight your favorite phrases and try to translate them into English. What you have to do, sometimes we do not translate word by word, we do translate meaning. So you have to find the best way in your native language to translate the Arabic text, but you have to translate meaning. The only time you translate word by word is when you are learning vocabulary. The way the language is constructed is simple. So word by word gives you simple sentences. But some languages are more descriptive. Some writers like to add more adjectives. Others like to add more nouns. You add even more details about using adverbs and how you've done your action. So it's all different based on the writer's style. But I would always go with simple sentences, especially when I'm learning how to translate word by word, because I need to get to the part where meaning can be communicated quite clearly and easily. So what you could do is you choose your favorite phrases from the text. I'm going to go over here. This is the initial story. What I can do is I can go over the text one more time. I can create a new list. I want to remember, I'd like to remember, let's say, إعادة كتابة موضوعه. So I can highlight that or create a new list. الوصول إلى الإجابة بمفردك. How do I say this in English? Now, مرت عدة أيام. I can highlight this one. موضوع التعبير. بعد ذلك تسليم الموضوع. المال ولا الموارد. I can just think of مال موارد. نتيجة. So you can go over here and retrieval pattern. What do I remember? Always ask yourself, what do I remember? Anything that occurs to you when you think of story 4, what do you remember? I personally remember مزرعة, ولد, ثانوية. It doesn't have to be in order. Any word that occurs to you when you think of story 4 أو القصة الرابعة. مدرب, خيول, حلم. What else do I remember? Verbs. I can retrieval. Verbs. عبر, express. رغب. What else? كبر. Okay. And then you can play around with this by remember the title of the story, try to retrieve your vocab by just randomly throwing words the way they occur to you. That's stage number 1. So we have to think about how we can retrieve our info or vocab and then rewrite, translate, and of course, the most important part is group your vocab. Verbs, phrases, complete sentence, the way it occurs with verb and noun and adjective and preposition, idiom, idiomatic expression. What else we did? Adjectives, adverbs. What did Khatawaat Ustadha Raja when I was explaining what grammar notes have I mentioned to you? We were talking about present continuous. We don't have present continuous in Arabic because when we write present continuous, we always refer to the simple present. So we don't have that. Just doodle. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be nice. Just little draft. Over here, my third practice. I advise my students to never let go of a lesson until they have covered most of its vocab. You do not have to memorize every single thing, but you have to recognize its presence. You're looking at it, you're digesting the sentence. Everyone learns and reads, but they don't have to recite everything that they read, but at least they comprehend. So more exposure. Let me drink something. More exposure to the Arabic text, to the same Arabic text, will help you recall more words. So I'm going to read this. What you have to do, figure out the translation. You don't have to go word by word, but you can just summarize in your target language. Remember, avoid word by word when you're recalling comprehension. You're trying to recall your understanding. How do you understand the full message? If you're fine with word by word, of course, just go ahead and do it. So, كان مونتي روبرت ابن مدرب خيول يقضي أيامه متنقلا من إسطبل إلى إسطبل ومن مزرعة إلى مزرعة أو إلى أخرى، يدرب الخيول ويروضها، وكانت مسيرته الدراسية منقطعة نتيجة تنقله الدائم مع أبيه. Now look at the first part. Translate the meaning. Just whatever you remember about this paragraph, just throw it in there. Now the second part, this would be your English, and this would be the Arabic. وفي أحد الأيام بينما كان في المرحلة الثانوية طلب منه في المدرسة كتابة موضوع يعبر فيه عما يرغب أن يكون عندما يكبر. لم يتردد روبرت، كان يعرف تماما ما يريد، وهكذا كتب 7 صفحات عن هدفه بأن يكون مالك مزرعة خيول. كتب موضوعا مفصلا وضح فيه موقع المزرعة واسطبلاتها، ورسم أيضا مخططا لها. وبعد تسليم الموضوع بيومين حصل روبرت على نتيجته، وقد كانت علامة راسب. كان مستغربا من هذه النتيجة، فسأل روبرت معلمه عن السبب في رسوبه، وكان الجواب: حلمك هذا غير واقعي ولا يتناسب مع ولد مثلك، فأنت لا تملك المال ولا الموارد، فضلا عن كونك ابن عائلة متجولة غير مستقرة. من المستحيل أن تحقق هذا الهدف. بعد ذلك منح المعلم روبرت فرصة ثانية لإعادة كتابة موضوعه، على أن يكون في هذه المرة أكثر واقعية. عاد الولد إلى منزله وأخبر أباه بما حدث، طالبا منه النصح والإرشاد. فقال الأب: هذا القرار مهم للغاية، وعليك الوصول إلى الإجابة بمفردك. مرت عدة أيام، عاد بعدها روبرت إلى معلمه يحمل نفس موضوع التعبير السابق، وسلمه إياه قائلا: احتفظ بعلامة الرسوب وأنا سأحتفظ بحلمي. جيد. يلا. So now what I'm going to do, since I have all of this right next to me, like I told you, never ever let go of a text until you recall at least 50% of its vocab, at least. So I'll take my time. We will take our quiet time. And we can go over a few things. Let's see. I know مدرب. I'd like to get to the verbs. I like verbs. يقضي. متنقل is a state of being. And you can translate as we go over this one. كان مونتي روبرت. يدرب. يروض. تنقل. منقطعة. We talked about انقطع. طلب منه. يعبر فيه. يرغب أن. لم يتردد. يعرف. يريد. كتب. مالك. I'd like to get this one because I have a verb ملك. فصلا. We learned فصل to detail something and then وضح. We have رسم. مخطط. I'd like to think of its verbs. That's why I'm highlighting it. تسليم. I also need this one. Nouns, gerunds, state of beings, and verbs. حصل. استغرب. مستغربا. This is a state of being. I'll just get this closer so you can see it again. تناسب. يتناسب. Here we go. We have تملك. تجول. متجول. مستقر. This is a state of being. It's an adjective. وتحقق. منح. إعادة. We have this one. إعادة. أكثر واقعية. أخبر. عاد. أخبر. We have النصح, the noun. نصح. And then الإرشاد, the noun. حدث, a verb. Because when I take nouns, I can think of a verb. هذا القرار. قرر. What else do I have? عليك الوصول الإجابة. وصول. وصل. مرت. يحمل. سلمه. We got that one. احتفظ. and أنا سأحتفظ. Wow. These are all verbs. So if I take my time, I will keep this lesson going. For those who would like to keep practicing the entire self-learning period. A full hour, maybe 40 minutes, you want to take 30 minutes, you decide. But I'm going over the verbs here. And gerunds. And as well as adjectives. It's very good with time. Yes. Okay. So, all right. Quiet time. قضى. تنقل. درب. روض. تنقل. Oh, you got تنقل there. I'll just erase this one. واحد اثنان 1 2. انقطع, we got انقطع. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5. Because here we say تنقل and متنقل. This one is the noun, this one is the adjective. And here is تنقل, the verb. So you see, I'm learning the adjective, the noun, and the gerund. I go to the second paragraph. طلب, request, but طلب منه, we always put من. عبر عن, رغب فيه. Okay. And then I can go over the translation. قضى, spend, تنقل, move, درب, train, روض, tame, انقطع, cut off, طلب, request, عبر, express, رغب في, desire, something. And then you can go over this in more details. Remember, the more you read, the more vocab you have. In order for you to learn how to create your own text or your own sentences, start reading simple stories. So I hope this was helpful. Inshallah, I'll see you in the upcoming sessions. And assalamu alaikum.